The chopper is done. This thing starts, it runs, it goes, more importantly it stops. This thing came together really, really well. This is going to be one of the last videos on this bike as far as the build goes. There's one other thing I really need to do. Riding this bike a couple times, I think this S&S Super E is a little too much for this 1200. I know I could probably rejet it and get it to work right, but I figured I might as well take this Super E and put it on my Dyna, take the CV off the Dyna and put it on here. Relatively simple swap. I just have to buy new intake manifolds for either one. I already have the CV intake manifold for this engine. The Dyna is a whole another beast I'll get into in a minute. But yeah, this thing, I need to tune the ignition a little bit and then get the other carb on here, and this thing will be mint. This project didn't turn out exactly how I wanted. I had to change a few things last minute. It happens. The exhaust on here is not the one I wanted, but I do like this exhaust. Luckily a friend had it, made a deal. The headlights, as you saw, these are not the headlights I wanted. The original ones were screwed up, and just other little shit like that. It happens with project bikes, it really does. Last minute things pop up, or small things you overlook end up turning into something bigger down the road. My battery box being a perfect example. But that's all minor shit compared to the project as a whole, which turned out amazing. Alright, so I'm gonna go ahead and cut to some B-roll of this bike and talk you through some of the stuff. So yeah, like I said, the paint turned out great. Really happy I was able to do this myself. The sissy bar, as you know, is not on this bike. It won't be for a while. My own stupid mistake, as I previously mentioned in the last video. I would rather have the sissy bar, especially because since the sissy bar is powder coated to match the frame. That's another thing I never really highlighted on this bike was the frame. I got this powder coated with a color called Andromeda Galaxy. It's a not quite a matte, but not quite a gloss, so somewhere like an eggshell black, multicolored flakes in it. And when this thing hits the sun, it is absolutely wild. There's blue, purple, orange, red, green. I mean, there's every color you can imagine on there. And like I said, there was a couple speed bumps along the way, as with any project. The rear brakes being one. The master cylinder that came on this bike was shot, had to buy a new one. And then the caliper I bought was the wrong caliper, and I had to make this one work. One of the major issues I was having once everything was buttoned up was an oil leak. I still have a little bit of an oil leak, but not nearly as bad as it was. This thing was like dumping oil out of it, and I found out that I forgot to run a line from the vent on the crankcase to the oil tank. I mistakenly used the wrong vent into the oil tank, so I had to get that remedied. The rawhide ignition in this bike was probably one of the single most expensive things I bought, but it was probably the best thing I bought because it literally was a plug-and-play ignition. I ripped everything out of the old wiring harness. There's nothing left on this bike of the old wiring harness other than the voltage regulator going to the battery. That's it. I literally ripped it out, put the new one in, followed the instructions, talked to the guy over at Rawhide. He talked me through a couple things, and this ignition was out of the box, plug and play, good to go. Super user friendly, but it was kind of pricey. But at the same time, it's that whole buy once, cry once situation. That ignition is absolutely worth the money. Here in the very near future, I'm going to be doing a more in-depth, what I've learned video on this build, because it did take me, August now? About 9 months to finish. And this being the first chopper I've ever built, I don't know if that's fast or if that's slow or whatever, but I am going to do a more in-depth what I learned, tips and tricks maybe, just stuff that I found out the hard way that hopefully someone else can learn from me and not make those mistakes. And then of course, like I did with the Dyna, I'm going to be doing a time-lapse video of the whole build. This one will be pretty cool because it's literally tearing the whole bike apart, cutting the bitch in half, welding it back together, and then putting it all back. Unfortunately, it takes a long time to edit those videos, so bear with me. That's probably going to take a little while. My videos have been kind of sporadic lately. I'm sorry, I know. In this stage of a build, there's not a lot going on. It's all little minute shit here and there. Or you're waiting on a part to come in that you forgot about until the last minute, shit like that. So I was waiting until everything got done to do a final choppers done video, per se. Now, things coming up. Like I said, I'm doing a whole carburetor swap on the Dyna. And this, I think it will help this bike, and I think it will really help the Dyna out. While we're on the subject of the Dyna, that's the next big project because that thing doesn't run and I don't know why. I mentioned it previously. I was on a road trip to Fort Worth. I got to Little Rock, Arkansas, and the thing just died. I'm pretty sure the transmission's gone, but I'm gonna go ahead and get it up on the lift. I gotta get this other bike off the lift. That's another video that's coming up soon. I'm doing a kind of an overhaul on a 08 Super Glide. But I'm gonna get the Dyna on the lift, start taking it apart. Of course the carb's coming off, it's gotta go on here. The exhaust is gonna come off. Primary, timing cover, transmission cover, all the fluids are gonna get drained and start inspecting, finding out what the hell the issue is. It's an 05, so it's almost 20 years old. It's got almost 40,000 miles on it, so still stock transmission, so if that's the issue, it is what it is. Hopefully I'll be putting a Baker in there, 6-speed. Might have to take a mortgage out of my house. But in closing, there's going to be a couple videos still coming out about this. It's not, being sold or anything. It's still going to be in the shop. To everyone who's followed along the whole process, thank you for all the tips, tricks, advice, what have you. Everyone's wisdom has been greatly used by my lack of, but now I have some of that wisdom that hopefully I'll use in the future for another build. I really enjoyed building this chopper. It's really gratifying to see something you've envisioned come to fruition. And I can honestly say that I did 99% of this myself. The only things I really didn't do was the bars. Shout out to Wannabe Fabrication for the bars. The powder coating and mounting the tires. That's like the only things I didn't do on this bike. Everything else was done by me and a couple friends just because I needed another set of hands. And of course the paint design was my wife's idea for the most part. She wanted the purple, I wanted the graphics, middle ground. But yeah, it is really gratifying to see this thing on the road, riding, and knowing I did it. So make sure you stick around. There's more stuff coming. The Dyna, like I said, is going to be the big project coming. The Ultra is still around. I got some new bags. I got the newer Rushmore bags for it, and I'm going to be painting that bike back to the original 100th anniversary. I think it's called Glacier White Pearl. So that's going to be coming up very, very soon because I am sick of that gunmetal. That's going to be it for the chopper for now. Hopefully you guys like this. So yeah, be sure to stick around. Plenty more is coming.